And today welcome to today's show, Plugged In with Joseph. Today I have a very special guest. Today I have Miss Qiana Johnson. She is the founder of Life After Release, an organization providing reentry services to formerly incarcerated Prince George's County residents. She's a community organizer with the Mass Liberation Project. She's also an organizer for Progressive Maryland, and there's so many other things that she organizes, and we're going to get into that today. But welcome to the show, and please watch a short video. All right, so I know you got to hold it.
I was charged for theft over $100,000 in 2013, and it was for a real estate theft scheme. I was received 8.5 years, and of that time I did 2.5 years. Anything over 18 months in one day, then you have to go to prison. The only prison in the state for women is Jessup right now. It's a maximum security prison in which no matter what level crime you have or what level you're classified as, you have to live in this maximum security prison as a woman. I have 2 children, 2 boys actually, and the sentence was really, really hard for me.
When you have never been arrested before, you take a lot of simple things for granted. You know, when you get up in the morning, you eat whatever you want for breakfast. So for a new person, it's culture shock. Most of my adult life, majority of my adult life, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I've been under the thumb of the judiciary process. Qiana has never done this before, so this was complete shock to her. She would talk to me all the time about, how have you been here more than once and they do this to you and they do that to you and you let them get away with it? Like, why are we eating like this? Our clothes aren't clean and it smells and, you know, this ain't right and we should do something about this. I'm like, you know, we really should.
Being in Jessup really made me realize that some of the issues that exist, if you are not directly impacted by it, you have no idea what is going on around you. It was really, really difficult, and I spent a lot of my time in the legal library. I spent a lot of my time in the computer lab, writing letters and taking notes. I have composition books full of like contacts and how I wanted to have meetings. All these things I wrote down because that was my focus when I was inside. It comes from a place of hurt and trauma, and that's the way that I dealt with it. Some people deal with it by crying, or some people deal with it by lashing out and getting into arguments and fights. But I chose to deal with it in that way by becoming informed and making informed decisions and being able to help other people. That was my solace. The day of sentencing, June 15, 2015, was when my advocacy really started. And I told my prosecutor that day that I'm going to make a difference when it comes to the issues that are going on in this justice system. Who's going to oversee the overseer when there's nobody there? Coming home, it was an immediate thing for me to start this work. Just so many different doors started opening up to bring awareness to this issue. We got introduced to the legislative process and how the bills work and different organizations, reproductive justice, Out for Justice, Maryland Justice Project, Cut 50, People's Action, Progressive Maryland. These people started reaching out because they're like, okay, this is what you need to do and how you need to do it. And I don't see myself ever doing anything else but this work. Prison is developed for men. And now that the rate of women being incarcerated is increased by 14%, people are starting to pay attention to the women's needs.
There are so many good women in prison. There are women that are there that are mothering and nurturing other women who are broken and messed up and have been battered and abused, and trying to help nurse these broken women back to health. There are older women there that are mother figures to the younger women. There are women there who are mothering their children from behind bars. These women need to be, in a lot of levels, treated gently to be reacclimated to society, and not just the swift kick in the pants and now you're out there. It's deeper than just a Coke and a smile.
We're living in a society where people of color are being shot for no reason. They're being sent away for little reasons. To be a mother that spent 2 years away from her children, this is very important to me. Like, being able to know that because of my efforts and the efforts of the people who care, that we were able to let a mother be home with her children for Mother's Day is something that I can't see it not happening, you know? So if I can be instrumental in any way in seeing that change happen, even if it's just in my county, even if it's just in my state, I want to be a part of that.
Lucky yesterday was moving day. I was moving stuff and I had hands with no pockets. Stand right here, don't move.
Activism is a necessary evil, because if everybody sits around like me and just goes, well, it's another day in office, none of our voices will ever be heard. Some of the stuff that has gone on behind closed doors or behind bars or whatever, some of the stuff I can fix it. And I feel like that's the only way to atone for all of the misery that I've caused other people. Other people's quality of life was taken down because of a lot of selfish choices that I've made. So me being an activist is personal.
MPT Digital Studios, web exclusive, made for mobile.
All right, welcome back to the show with Miss Qiana Johnson. How you doing, Miss Johnson?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. I want to thank you for coming. You know, it's a special show tonight to have you come in and share with the people on what it's like for women in prison, in Maryland prisons. Can you bring us up to what was it like for you your first day in prison?
Well, my first day in prison was very rough. I thought that when I got there, there was going to be a woman named Bertha that was going to be there to greet me. And, just hanging in the hallways, dark hallways, and bandanas and, plaits and maybe a couple tattoos on the face and things like that. I thought, and I told everybody that I was going to have to shower in like an open dormitory, things that you see on TV. But that all went away when I actually went to my cell for the first time, and I saw that it was just lonely, alone and small. But outside of that, my experience, I try to spend a lot of my time like in the legal library and writing letters and reading and researching. So I would have to say that time was spent very being into education.
Okay. Real quick, I see that we have a caller on the line. I'm gonna take a call real quick.
Okay.
Take a call real quick. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are y'all?
I'm fine. Who is this calling?
This is Chantel Pincham, the co-founder of Life After Release.
Right. We were looking for Chantel to come on the show.
Yes, and Chantel's grandson got hit by a car today.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to hear about that, Chantel.
Don't worry, he's fine. I just want the world to know that he is fine.
Okay, great. Chantel, what was it like, because you were supposed to have joined us on the show today, what was it like your first day going to prison?
My first day going to prison, if I could use a mild adjective to describe it, would be culture shock.
Okay.
Being in prison is like being on another planet. I guess the best way to describe it is like it's a universe within the universe. So it was scary, it was cold, it was confusing, it was definitely depressing because I think once you pull up onto the property and the gates close behind you, you know, the song is over, so to speak.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask Qiana. I'm gonna let you hold on the line with us for a second. I'm gonna ask Qiana this question. From your experience in prison, what are some of the disparities between men prisons and female prisons?
Well, I've never gone to a male prison.
Thank God.
Okay,
You'd have been in trouble.
I'm just going to tell you based on what we had in Jessup. First and foremost, there's only one female prison in the
whole state, and that's for state.
In the whole entire state of Maryland.
Okay.
So once you get over a certain time, I think it's 18 months in a day or so, you have to go to prison. You're no longer allowed to do jail time at your local county detention center. So all the women, I don't care if you were in Ocean City and committed a crime or you were in Landover and committed a crime. If you were in the state of Maryland when you committed your crime, you're going to go to Jessup, Maryland Correctional Institute for Women. So that right there in and of itself is a problem because women are being housed with all classification levels together. Unlike with the men, they have a maximum security prison facility. They have a medium, minimum, and pre-release. So we as women are housed all together, just like herds of animals. Just throw us into a location.
So what you're telling me, some things stick out in my mind is number one is that there's only one female prison in the state of Maryland, right?
Yes.
And you're telling me that in terms of classification, you all are just thrown into. Are you on the same pod? Like if you have a person that has a life sentence, right, and you got a little 18 months or whatever you got.
One of my roommates had a life sentence.
And you right on the pod with her.
Yes.
So what was your classification when you went in?
Oh, I came in as a minimum, the lowest above pre-release.
So that's kind of disturbing. You come in as a minimum from the door. Now for men, you wouldn't even come with us. If you came in as a minimum, you would go straight to a camp, a pre-release center, and then work your way to work release. So what you're saying is that you came in 18 months or 19, whatever you had. No, you had 8 years, right?
I had 8.5 years.
But your points had you down as a minimum.
Yes.
They didn't have a minimum housing unit for you all?
No. Nothing. We were on the pods. We were in rooms. We were all housed together. We ate together. We went to rec together. Out on a yard together. We did everything together.
That's just disturbing to me, man. Like, it's 2018. I just feel like you all should be getting treated as we get treated. I don't understand. It was a funding issue or something. What's the problem? Have you ever raised it before?
I raised it with the warden several different occasions. I was a part of the ILC, which is the Inmate Liaison Council. And as a part of her council, and we would raise this issue to her, she would say that it wasn't enough women to warrant the budget, the funding. We couldn't have those things because there wasn't enough of us. So when it became enough of us, whatever magical number that is, when there's actually 950 women plus inside of Jessup, but that's not enough for us to be housed separately. She also said that it was an issue of confidentiality. So if we shouldn't know what classification level each other, so it was just weird and totally unacceptable. So I've been in contact with the ACLU and with other agencies to let them know about the way that we're housed and the way that we're treated. So,
and what is it that we can do now because I just can't wrap my mind around the fact of somebody being minimum security or pre-release, yet they are being housed with maximum security other inmates. Yeah. What is it that we can do, you, myself, or the people that's watching, what is it that we can do to put pressure or bring about a change on that? Did y'all have like little housing units outside of the building? Or everything was inside?
Everything was, we had So we had a building actually was condemned. If you look, it's called 192. So our building 192 is a condemned building. It's not suitable to house people. If this was a home located here in Prince George's County, it would have one of those stickers on it that said condemned, not suitable for human living. But 192 is a condemned building, so that building houses women, and then we have building A and building B. So we have 3 different buildings that we're housed in, but it's no rhyme or reason as to how we are actually housed. So,
Gotcha. I think Chantel came back on the line. Chantel,
Yes, sir.
what do you have to say about the disparities between women prisons and men prisons?
Well, one of the main disparities, I'll call it a complaint.
Cut your phone down or something in the background down.
I'm sorry. One of the main disparities, I will call it a complaint, is that the men seem to be treated better in all aspects of incarceration. There aren't any vocational trainings that are women friendly. They have a vocational training called HVAC, which is, I guess, air conditioning, and they have roofing and automotive program. But those aren't really women friendly. And not only are they not women friendly, and I'll just use this for a hypothetical number, if there are 250 women that are pre-release status, and that's a custody level, that's the lowest custody level that you can be, out of 250 women, only maybe 5 of them will be eligible to leave the facility to go to these testosterone-driven, I'll call them, vocational programs. And that's because they say they don't have the staff for transport. They say it's because of the possibility of a security breach. They'll give you all kinds of reasons why, even if you're interested and your custody level qualifies you for it, you cannot participate. So there aren't any vocational trainings on ground. If you have a GED or a high school diploma, you don't really qualify for education. They don't have any type of college courses that are readily available, minus one school that doesn't have accreditation so that the credits that you do earn can transfer to a university or even a community college. So I would say that was my main issue, that coming in the door, if you already have some sort of formal education, you can go no further.
So in terms of rehabilitation, there's really none for you, really.
no.
There is, I won't say really none, there's absolutely none. If for whatever your health or your interest don't permit you to be an auto mechanic or a roofer or an HVAC technician, then there's absolutely nothing for you to do.
And can I say one more thing? The women also, in 2016, while I was on the Inmate Liaison Council, because of funding, now I know for a fact that this was because of funding, the only inpatient therapeutic drug community program was shut down without any replacement. And it was also a parole requirement. So if a woman needed, as a condition of her parole, to be released to have this drug treatment program, it wasn't there. So it required her to sit longer. However, the men had the drug treatment program.
In almost every jail.
And the women, I don't think they still don't have it. I'm not 100% sure, but as when I left in 2017, they did not.
This is really disturbing. So you telling me you go off of parole board says, I want you to do a drug program. You go back to the unit, you talk to your case manager, and your case manager basically say, well, we don't have a drug program for you to go. So therefore, you're not meeting the criteria that the parole board is asking you to do. This is ridiculous. It's almost unbelievable that 2018 that this is going on in the state of Maryland. I bet a lot of people watching or a lot of people listening couldn't even fathom the thought. Let's move on here. In terms of women hygiene products, I've heard you all talk a lot about that. Can you tell us about the hygiene product situation? And what was the prison called?
It's the MCIW, Maryland
Correctional Institution for Women.
Yes,
in
MCIW.
Jessup. Okay.
Yes. Well, that's a big one. As soon as I came home in 2017, that was the first thing that myself and Chantel and our organization Life After Release pursued in conjunction with Reproductive Justice and a few other organizations. However, the inadequate hygiene products are at the state level as well as at the county levels. So when a woman is on her cycle, she needs hygiene products. However, the hygiene products that are offered are often not available due to funding. They don't have it, or it's being we don't have access to them. So what women are doing in lieu of not having the hygiene products, they are making their own, which is very, very toxic to the woman's body.
How do you make your own? So basically, let's just cut through the chase. We're talking about tampons or maxi pads.
We're
right?
talking about both. To make a maxi pad, a woman would use a sock. She would take a sock and she would use it as to catch her blood. And if she wanted to use a tampon, she would take pieces of the mattress, the stuffing inside of the mattress. She would roll it up and she would make it into a tampon.
Wait a minute.
Or she would take.
So wait a minute, Joseph and Qiana, if I could interject, Qiana's talking about using the inside of the mattress to make tampons and sanitary napkins. So it's not a secret that there is some sort of mesh, or it's not cotton, polyester blend mixed with fiberglass. The chemicals that are in it are known carcinogens. So I just want to throw this out there. A woman gets arrested, convicted, and sent to prison for theft. And I'm not going to say theft is not a serious crime, but the point is they didn't hurt anybody, didn't kill anybody. They used the inside of a mattress to make a tampon and basically put it inside of their body. These are chemicals, again, that are known carcinogens. You end up with, if not just toxic shock, you can end up with cervical cancer or all other types of cancers, which in essence, this might sound far-fetched, but it's the absolute truth. Your one little theft charge now turns into a death sentence. It's not like we have adequate medical care at MCIW. I don't know if that's politically correct for me to say, but it's the truth. So not only is it a biohazard, but it's dangerous to yourself, not to mention the fact that now you're destroying state property, and that's a whole nother street charge. So if somebody really wanted to be petty, they could send you back to court for destroying state property.
So what?
All of this because they don't have sanitary napkins. They don't have enough to give.
So whose responsibility is it? Do they say that your family have to be, they have to send you the money to buy it off a commissary? I mean, I'm not quite.
No, in this year, House Bill 797 was passed. And in that passing, this is the menstrual hygiene bill. So it's so crazy that in 2018, the government has to actually pass a bill to require the state to provide you with basic hygiene items. In this bill, the government allotted a budget moving forward for $81,000. $81,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about almost 1,000 women, and out of that 1,000, somebody's on their cycle, quite a few of them every single day, that's not enough money. So it's not the responsibility of the inmate. It's not the responsibility of the inmate's family or support system. It is the responsibility of the state, because once you are a state prisoner with a state ID number, you belong to the state. So in my mind, it's no different than me being in foster care. The state is required to take good care of my basic life needs, and sanitary napkins, panty liners, and tampons are basic life hygiene needs. Otherwise, I'm a walking biohazard. I'm a danger to the people around me, and other people are a danger to me because, you know, they have a cycle just like I do.
I was actually in a cell with a woman who came on her cycle really, really bad, and she was HIV positive. And she had no problems telling me that. It was no secret. She told me, and she knew, but she was indigent and she had nothing. So she would come on her cycle, and when she woke up in the morning, it looked like she had been shot. So we're in a little 6x8 cell. I don't even know the dimensions of what they are, but we're in this little cell, and she wakes up and she's totally full of blood, and we can't get out of our cells for X amount of time to go to the shower. Like Chantel said, she is now a walking biohazard, and I am the person that will have to suffer behind that. And also, there's no proper way to dispose of the feminine hygiene products. You're not supposed to flush them down the toilet, so therefore, how are we supposed? There's no biohazard bags to put them in, so you just kind of like throw them around, or you put them into a bag, or you just put them in something, and you just let it sit there until you're able to get to the trash can. So
I just can't. I can't believe this type of stuff is going on like this.
We have to barter for them, and we have to beg the officers, and there are stipulations that are not ethical, stipulations that the powers that be may not even be aware of, but time and time again, you can ask an officer, may I please have some sanitary napkins, may I please have some tampons, and they'll ask, well, is your room clean? Have you gone to whatever activity that you are supposed to be in at the time? And if the answer is not pleasing to the officer, then you just don't get what you need.
Or how about wait till
these are the things that women are dealing with.
And so we got a question on Facebook from Jonathan Newton. He said, was there any outreach from legal organizations to consider a class action for 8th Amendment violation?
I don't know, Jonathan, but I hope that there is, because I would like to help lead that movement, because I reached out to PRISM while I was there, and they told me that my complaint or my letter was unfounded, and that I was crazy.
Did you all file any grievances or anything like that while you was in?
I filed several grievances on the process.
And you still have them?
I do. I still have them at home, so I'm ready to go forth with the process. And I have it where they wrote back and told me that it was unfounded and that it was just something I had to deal with. So I have that.
So let me ask y'all this. So is it a right? Because we're not talking about something that they could just say, you know what, we don't have to give you that. Is it a right for them to provide you with sanitary napkins?
According to HB 787, yes it is.
But that's now, though. I'm talking about previous to that bill.
Prior to the bill, they had to provide it, but there was no law telling them in how often, or it was not. Somebody had to tell the government what to do. Like, it was nothing specifying, but it was in the COMAR that they did have, just like they have to provide us clothes, they have to provide us shoes, they have to provide us socks, they have to provide us a uniform. So in the COMAR, it states that they have to provide us with hygiene products, but it does not stipulate, because it says in the COMAR, for instance, it says they have to provide us with one coat. So and they don't even do that, but it tells them one coat, 2 pants, 2 pairs of socks. So they have guidelines, but it did not say, as the hygiene products were concerned, how much they had to give us.
It's ridiculous, man. I just can't believe that you would treat mothers like that. You know what I mean? Like, how you treat women like this, to have women walking around, on their cycle without pads or without tampons. All together, that's just a big old health issue all by itself. And you say your cellmate had HIV, your cellmate was HIV positive. How many other women was in that prison HIV positive, walking around with blood running down their legs?
A lot.
This is unbelievable.
If I may interject,
if it wasn't y'all two, I wouldn't even believe you.
And you meet the medical staff talks to you about being in sexual relationships with other women on the compound, and they say that it is discouraged, not because it's morally wrong, but because according to their statistics, 1 in 3 women on the compound is positive for HIV or hepatitis. So, for a round figure, if there are 900 women there, that means that a third of those 900 women are positive for a life-threatening communicable disease. So I look at it like this. Even if we don't care about the inmates, y'all committed a crime, y'all are throwaways, you're incorrigible, what about the staff that works there? That they're working there, they're upstanding taxpaying citizens. They're there. They're inmates appropriately medically, I'll say, pose a threat to the public. And people don't look at it like that. How many hundreds of people are just regular DOC staff? And they come in, they do their shift, and they go home to their families, they go home to their friends, and they're dragging these germs with them. They're dragging these possibilities of spreading incurable diseases with them. And it all boils down to the warden or whoever is in charge of making sure that these women have enough supplies won't do it. So a 59-cent sanitary napkin is the difference between a public safety worker taking home a communicable disease to her innocent children and innocent families, and that's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, we're coming up on a break. I'm really disturbed about this in 2018 that women are being treated like that. We have some other things to cover. We got to get to House Bill 797. We got to talk about the work release situation for females that are incarcerated in the state of Maryland. This segment is sponsored by Aimwear, AIMwear. Ambition is me. Aimwear was established to inspire anyone with any type of adversity, doubts, or limitations of what others may think of them. Know you are your biggest cheerleader, and you can do anything. Just believe in yourself. My aspiration in life is to be a better version of myself, and that's to be great. When you aim high, your possibilities are endless. Be ambitious, not thirsty. Let's go to commercial.
I'm not only a nurse, I teach nurses to care for other human beings. Ben Jealous has a plan called Medicare for All that builds on the foundation of Medicare by using our collective purchasing power to lower costs and the cost of prescription drugs.
Medicare for All allows us to take every pharmaceutical company to task on the price of every drug and get a better deal for all of us.
Nurses want a healthier Maryland, and Medicare for All will lead to just that. My name is Hannah, and I'm supporting Ben Jealous for Governor of Maryland.
I think Maryland schools have slipped. We have some fantastic schools, and we have a lot of schools that are in crisis. Our current governor has withheld money that could have been spent on education. Maryland needs a governor whose top priority is public schools. Ben Jealous has a plan to fully fund education, to bring teacher pay up so that we can attract the best and brightest. Ben's education plan is supported by teachers like me. If parents want better schools, then Ben Jealous needs to be the person they vote for. My name is Rachel, and I'll be voting for Ben Jealous for governor.
And we are back with Miss Qiana Johnson of Life After Release, and Qiana Johnson and Chantel Pension on the telephone from Life After Release. I'm tongue-tied right now. So let's talk about, we talked about legislation a little bit. Let's get into what is House Bill 797?
House Bill 797 is a bill that unfortunately had to be put into place to tell the government how to treat women when they come on their cycle,
specifically
hygiene products, or if they come into the jail or prison pregnant. It's telling them that they have to give us unlimited supply of sanitary napkins when we are there. They were giving us a capped amount, like two bags or something a month. So now this is telling them that they have to give it to us unlimited. That's at the local level, the county level, and at the state level. Okay.
And was it federal law that caused them to do it? Because someone just told me on Facebook that the prison officials by law have to give you this, and he put an article up. So did this come as a result of the federal law, or this came as a result of you all advocating?
This came as a result of us advocating. Whether or not it was a federal law, see, what happens at the federal level is a big difference between a federal inmate and a state inmate. So I have no idea what was supposed to be happening at the federal level. And in the COMAR, it states that they're supposed to give us the products. However, the way they skirt around things is that, well, it doesn't say how many pads we had to give them. So we were giving them what we thought was adequate, and then we would cut it off because we thought that was enough. So what this piece of legislation does is it says, no, I don't care how many times a woman asks you for a pad, you are to find it and provide them with it.
And the warden at that institution is a female, is that correct?
She is. And as a matter of fact, I just got word that last Wednesday, the entire jail ran out of pads again, and we had to get a donation drive together to go up and donate pads. This is after the bill was passed.
So even after the bill is passed, they still didn't have enough pads and tampons for the population in 2018.
In 2018, absolutely not. They still didn't have it. And the thing about that is that taxpayers are paying dollars to provide these things. So when a budget is created and a warden says, this is what I need for my budget, and she's provided that, and it goes to God knows where, then she's getting donations from the public again. So she's getting money for a state prisoner. The state is supposed to be providing for that prisoner, not the community. We're already providing with our tax dollars.
Right.
So now you have to provide with your tax dollars, and then on top of that, you have to do a donation.
Absolutely ridiculous. Is there any part of the bill that deals with enforcement? What are your remedies when these things are not given? What are the remedies?
We are in the second phase. It was passed, the first state in the nation, Maryland, by the way, to pass this law into law. So it was passed. The enforcement is a tricky part, and I would like to go out to the community and especially the legislators that may be watching, or people who are in the legal realm. You tell us, how do the enforcement of a lot of laws are a problem when it comes to bail reform, when it comes to the hygiene products, because what they do is they put something down on writing just to shut people up and to shut the advocates up.
Right.
And then you have the enforcement piece that is just non-existent because they don't believe that we as advocates, or that we are smart enough to go around and to check to see, hey, look, is this happening here? Is this happening here? Or that we don't have the capacity to be able to go to all the jails in the prison in the state to see whether or not it's being enforced.
Right.
But we are working together as a coalition to do that. So we will be working on enforcement.
Chantel, would you like to add anything on this?
No, I think she pretty much covered it. Like she said, the bill talks a lot about implementation of the new rules. So now phase 2 will be enforcement. So it's very saddening to know that on the very last day of the fiscal year, they ran out of supplies. So walking into the new fiscal year, there was nothing, no money, no plan to make sure that they had a carryover, because the fiscal year ends on one day and it starts brand new the very next day. There was no plan for what about tomorrow. So, no, I would just encourage anybody that's concerned, maybe even a letter writing campaign. Let the people know that, this is not acceptable, because if my tax dollars are paying for these women to be taken care of, I want to know that my money is doing what you guys project it is enough to do.
So let me say this. We're going to wrap this part up. I find it to be, I don't even know the words to use. I just find it to be absolutely ridiculous that the only female prison in the state of Maryland on the state level is not providing our mothers, our wives, our daughters, our children with the necessities of sanitation, napkins, and tampons, that our women are walking around with blood running down their leg, is absolutely ridiculous. I want to go on a cursing rant, but I'm not even going to do that. Right?
And just very briefly make mention that in lieu of the proper items, they're stuffing themselves with carcinogens. Mm-hmm. They're putting themselves in positions where, because they're destroying state property, they won't go home on time, i.e. make parole, or possibly catch a street charge. They're posing a threat to the public safety because the people that work there have to go home. Let's briefly mention those things, and then we can get on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you made mention of it. And I would say Qiana Johnson and Chantel Pincham, if you all want to donate sanitary napkins, tampons, maybe we need to do a drive.
Maybe.
Matter of fact, not even maybe. We know that it's needed. We need to do a drive for sanitation napkins and tampons. We'll organize it. We'll put it out there. and get that into the sisters. Let's move on. Let's move on to are women afforded the opportunity for work release in MCIW?
This is a really good question.
You want the easy answer, or do you want the complicated, this don't make no daggone sense answer?
Well, I'll let you give me whatever answer you want to give to me, then I'll let Qiana speak on it.
Okay, so it's not a secret that there's only one facility. We've said that over and over. The facility is technically a maximum security facility.
Okay.
Simply because they house those women there. So when you get to work release status, or the lowest custody level, which I think is pre-release, you're qualified for work release. However, again, just like with the vocational situation, they don't have enough staff to transport, and they are fearful of the security breaches. When you leave out and you come back in, you could possibly breach security by bringing back in contraband. So there are a very limited number of spaces available for work release. They are really, I'm going to use the word stringent. I'm not going to use the word petty with who they choose to work on the outside. And even with the women that work on the outside, they're not getting jobs that are viable jobs. They're working in fast food restaurants where they're making barely minimum wage. They're not allowed to work very many hours. And this is the most important issue to me, is that these small amount of women are working and they're giving their wages back to the jail. So now, Qiana talked about how the taxpayers are paying for the inmates to live. That's where your tax dollars go. They go to the prisons. So if you're getting money, not from the government, but from the taxpayers, for us to be housed and fed and clothed and everything else, why are we giving our working income back to the jail? And they're not taking just 5% or 10% like it's tithes. They're taking a very large amount of it. And the little bit of money that you have left, you still have to buy commissary. You still have to pay for your phone calls. You have to pay to wash your uniforms or whatever work clothes you wear. You still have to take care of yourself while you're in there. And most of us, like you said, are mothers, are, grandmothers, aunts. They're head of households, even though they're behind bars. So these women are taking that little teeny bit of money that's left and trying to send it home.
Right.
And if you leave out, you don't get that money back like you do in other states. Other states allow you to do work release, and all the money that they take from you, and they take it under the guise of you're paying for room and board. When you leave the facility upon your release, you get a check back for the amount of money that they took from you, minus maybe 5%. So here at MCIW, they aren't doing that. These jobs are in a very limited area. I want to say like maybe a 5 or 10 mile radius of the facility. And 90% of the women that are incarcerated there don't live anywhere near. So these aren't even jobs that they can keep going into the real world.
Right.
So if I work release and I work in Arby's in Jessup, and I live 3 counties away, that's not a viable job for me when I'm leaving. So when I'm released, I'm back at square one. No job, no money, no nothing. And I mean, as sad as it is to say, I'm in a really detrimental position, and the likelihood of me going out and reoffending is now high. Whereas if the women had access to work release like the men do, meaning there are work release centers that we can go to, possibly in our counties or, a little closer to home than the women's facility, we might be able to sustain those jobs after we're released. We might be able to save money to contribute a little bit more to our households, or maybe to our education, or, whatever else we would need to do as soon-to-be members of the free society. So work release at MCIW is a joke.
Absolutely. It definitely is a joke. And I think Chantel covered everything about the work release. The main thing that I want to point out is that work release is a program and pre-release is a security level. Okay, there's this class. It's 2 different things. Just because you are on pre-release does not necessarily mean that you may want to participate into the work release or that you have to participate into the work release. And a lot of women, if they're not from Baltimore or Anne Arundel County, if they're from Prince George's County, they won't participate in the work release program because they have to pay $600 a month to live in a maximum security prison. So most women are opted out of the opportunity that's supposed to exist, that is not really an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the prison to get revenue from the inmates that go on the program, because 600 of their working dollars have to now come to pay rent, because what they're supposed to be is inside of a pre-release facility. Like the men, they pay a portion of the rent to be in a pre-release facility.
As I did.
They are allowed to carry cash. Mm-hmm. They are allowed to use, phones and things
money.
Like phones and money.
Buy from vending machines.
And the reason why, buy from vending machines. And the reason why that's important, that you're able to do that in that type of environment, is because you are articulating yourself back into society.
Exactly.
And that is the whole reason why work release exists. How can it be a work release program if you are telling me that I have to still live in a maximum level security prison? It just doesn't make any sense. It is a cash cow for MCIW, and that's all that it is. So
let me ask you this. A person, walk me through what a work release female prisoner would go. What is it like to go to work in a maximum security prison?
First of all, what it's like to go to work is that you have to go.
Hold on, Chantel.
First of all, they take the women to their interviews in shackles on a van. They don't allow them to go on a bus or use public transportation. And they have to pay to get on that van, by the way. They don't allow them to go on a bus and to get back and forth like they will be articulating back into, on public transportation.
I'm confused.
They have an officer go with them in a black van that has a DPSCS logo on the side of it. They sit in the parking lot, wait for them to come in and out of that, so everybody knows that they're a prisoner because they're going into a prison.
Well, they do that with men too, but you said that they're shackled
when they leave out of the facility. Yeah. Yes.
So what are they when they go to the interview? They shackled?
Oh no, they're not shackled during the interview process, and I opted out of it. I did not do work release, so I did not do that.
Well, I worked outside of the facility. I was on a road crew. I also took the vocational. I was in a vocational program, the automotive maintenance and repair. So the work release women rode the same van with me in the morning. And the process is no different when you're leaving in the morning than it would be if you were leaving to go to court or leaving to go to another facility. You have to be strip
search every time.
Yeah, we got to strip search.
The only difference between a regular maximum security inmate and a work release inmate is the uniform that you have on when you leave. But it is a fact. They pull up in front of your job in that big blue van with the bars on the windows. So whether or not there's a logo on the van that says exactly where you come from, it's just a matter of which van did they pick out of the fleet before they decided to take you to work. The irons, as they call them, are taken off of your ankles. The officer gets out and comes inside of the van, opens the van door, takes your irons off, and you're allowed to walk into the fast food restaurant.
Hold up. Stop right there. So you at somebody's place of business with a 3-piece on. You handcuffed too?
No.
So you just got shackles on your feet?
Yeah.
So you gonna pull up to my business with my customers outside, and you gonna bring your ass around the side of the van and take the shackles off of my feet?
Yes, sir. So when they pull up in front of Arby's, and I'm gonna talk about what I know about, the people in the drive-thru can see exactly what's going on. The people that parked and decided that they want to walk in and get their food can see exactly what's going on. And you take that walk of shame, as I call it, from your job back to the vehicle. That officer is standing outside on the side of that vehicle with the big bold blue uniform on, so you know exactly where that officer came from. It's not an Uber. It's not a cab. It's not your cousin that came to pick you up. And you take that walk of shame back to the van, and depending on who's driving and depending on how they feel about you, will say whether or not you have to be strapped back up. That's the easy way, the nice way we'll call it, before you get back in that van.
All right, so
you definitely look like a prisoner when you're getting out, and you definitely look like a prisoner when you're coming back. And you're strip searched all over again, and process as if you were a maximum security offender or inmate going to court or going to another facility. You don't have any privileges according to your custody level. It seemed like the women with the lower security levels would be treated a little more gently. And some of the measures, the safety measures as they call them, would be mute points, obsolete and unnecessary, because the lower security, the least, amount of threat you pose.
So let me say this. Let me say this real quick, Chantel. Just to be clear, even in work release for men, we don't have to strip before we leave, but we have to strip before we come in. Of course, they want to make sure it's no contraband, right? But we do not wear shackles at all going to work. We do not wear shackles going to work. We got about 8 minutes. I want to slide from this, right? And I want to talk about the things that you lovely ladies are doing in the community. I want to leave on a positive note. I want the people watching to know that even though you all have been treated less than a human being, right, in the prison system, that you still find the courage and the love to help people out and tell the people what you all are doing. We can start with Qiana. You might be long. We'll start with Chantel. We only got a couple of minutes, Chantel.
Okay, well, y'all already know. Well, they might not know. I'm a mother of 4. I'm a grandmother of 2. I'm currently in college. I'm working on my 3rd bachelor's degree. Not my first, not my second, but this is my 3rd. As far as Life After Release is a service-based organization, and we serve the community. So recently we did a Mother's Day bailout. We wanted to make sure that if it was possible, no mother would be separated from her child on Mother's Day. That was a definite success. We bailed out a lot of women and reunited them with their families and, friends and what have you for Mother's Day. Those same women, we try to work closely with them for employment. We try to help them if they need it for their education. If we can help you with that, we will. We're service-based. So it's as simple as this with me. When you are just getting out of an unfortunate situation, whatever it is you need assistance with, I will help you as much as I possibly can. Even if I just need a pack of chicken, I got your back.
And how can people find you, Chantel?
You can see us on Facebook. We are Life After Release. It's on Facebook. You can get in contact with us on the internet. It's www.lifeafterrelease. Is it mdqiana.com?
Lifeafterrelease.com. No MD.
Okay. That's our email address. They can call my cell phone. Like that's how transparent I am. I will put my cell phone number out there. You can call me at 202-299-6289. If you need help, call me. It's just that simple.
And Miss Qiana, what do you got going on in the community?
Chantel talked about Life After Release, and due to time, I'm just going to talk about some of the community organizing efforts that we did. Under the Mass Liberation Project, we are doing some serious DA accountability work. We have a new DA that's getting ready to go into office, Aisha Braveboy, and we are using 2 community organizing models in order to find real live data in order to hold her accountable. So we're using a court watch program where we train citizens once a month to go out into the community, into the district court, to look at bail processes and sentencing processes. And then we also do a participatory defense where we help regular lay people who may be going through the system for the first time or whatever time they're going through, to be able to make sure they're getting a fair trial, making sure that the DA as well as the public defender are doing what they can to make sure that they get a fair trial and a fair shot.
Okay. That's it? I know there's some other stuff I was thinking about you doing. Okay. Well, how can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on the internet. My Facebook is probably the most. Qiana Johnson is my Facebook, Qiana. Or you can also call me on my cell phone, 240-845-4007. Don't make me have to block you now, because I will block your phone number if you call unwarranted. But if you're calling with something, if you want to know about Court Watch, or you want to get involved with the participatory defense in any way, then you feel free to give me a call.
Any upcoming legislation that may improve the lives of women incarcerated in Maryland?
Well, we are working with Out for Justice.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
Nicole. Baltimore, stand up.
We are working with Nicole Hanson Mundell from Out for Justice, where we are working on trying to get the it's not going to be the first, but trying to reopen a pre-release center, because they did have a pre-release center for women up until 2007 when they closed it and never reopened it.
Okay.
So we're trying to get that center reopened through legislation and making sure that once it opens, it will never be closed again.
Okay, cool. Any last thoughts, Chantel, before I let you go?
My last thought is it's going to be real easy. Going to prison, I always say the world don't stop because I'm in jail. But the world does stop. The world stops because the people on the outside take for granted the small things that they have. And the small things that they have, sanitary napkins, toothpaste, toilet paper, clean socks, underwear, that's it. Those are the things that the women don't have or have to fight for or, defend themselves to keep. So if I could leave everybody with a last word, if you have a loved one that you are concerned that they're going down the wrong path, you have a loved one that is already incarcerated or just coming out of the system, grab that person close. And if you need to refer them to us, then do it. But the moral of saying that is just this. Let's not have people who are incarcerated currently or returning citizens be the forgotten, be the voiceless, and be the helpless and defenseless. Let's stop doing this. Because as soon as we stop doing this, I'm not going to say people going to stop going to jail, but a lot of people will stop going to jail.
Okay.
Let's take all our community members and go back to the village,
right?
Got you.
Raising the children.
Got you. Qiana, 1 minute.
Yes.
Last words, final words, 1 minute.
My last word is that get involved. Get involved in the community. Find out what is going on. Get involved in the legislation process. Make sure you get out and vote. We have an election that is getting ready to come out, where it's very, very important that we, I'm voting for Ben Jealous. I don't know about anybody else.
Ben Jealous.
So, it's very important that, that's the way that we change community, is through changing legislation, and we can't do that if we don't have the proper people in those offices that are going to fight for criminal justice reform and ending mass incarceration, and he's one of them.
And I'll say, as I always do, make sure you support the show by purchasing a Plugged In with Joseph Tober t-shirt. All proceeds will go to the production of the show, and I thank you all for tuning in. As Qiana said, make sure you vote November the 6th, and please understand, felons, okay? We have a right to vote. It does not matter if you're on parole, if you're on supervised release. The law is passed. If you are a Prince George's County, if you are a resident of the state of Maryland, okay? If your feet is on the ground, you can vote. Vote for Ben Jealous. I don't hide it.
House arrest too.
If you're on house arrest, I don't care what. If you're free, you can vote. Hey, Ben Jealous is our man. Okay. I'm sorry that we done ran out of time. That's the end of the show, because I wanted to talk about you re-entering back into society and getting reacclimated with your children. But
we might have to bring me back.
Well, we might have to do another show. We might have to do a part 2 next week. Hey, thank you all. Like, comment, and share. We out of here.
All right.
All right.